The number one question I always get asked when I'm opening up about parts of my story or I share some of the things that I've been through is, how did you deal with that? How do you deal with your parents abandoning you? How do you deal with not having any family? And how do you deal with all of the fucking trauma? So I figured I'd come on here and share parts of my story and a little bit about what I've been through so that hopefully you can recognize that you're not alone and there are people out there who have been through some shit, and people who also don't have any family or have been abandoned. Because I know that when I was going through these situations, I would have wished that someone came on here and shared their story, and I wish they would have made a video about the things that they've learned along the way, the mistakes that they've made, and I just feel like it would have made me feel less alone. So this is why I'm sharing my story about how my parents abandoned me, and then I want to share some of the mistakes I've made along the way as well as the lessons I've learned and a little bit about where I'm at now, because I can tell you that it does get better and it does get easier, even though it is easier said than done. I used to hate when people told me that. Like, I was going through some of my darkest and worst moments, and then people would tell me, oh, it gets better, like, just hang in there, and I would just be like, please shut up. So I'm gonna be one of those people because I feel like I actually am on the other side of that, and I've done a lot of healing and I've done a lot of growth on myself, so I want my story to be an example of something that you are also capable of, especially if you're currently going through any traumatic situations with your family or you resonate with any parts of my story. You're not alone. Okay, so where do I want to begin? I guess I'll start with when my parents like totally cut me off and they pretty much abandoned me. This was when I was about 15 years old, and prior to that we had a lot of CPS cases. CPS was constantly in and out, or Child Protective Services was constantly in and out of me and my parents' lives and my siblings, primarily due to the fact that I was constantly talking to older men. I looked for validation in them, because in a toxic household, you don't get validation. You are not told that you're loved and beautiful and that you can do anything. And so these men gave me something at the time that I couldn't get at home, and so I clung on to them as tightly as I could, and it was basically my lifeline. Like, I felt like I needed them. If I wasn't talking to an older man, I felt like I was nothing. I felt like my whole world was falling apart, because my nervous system, my sense of safety, I got that through them, not my parents. My parents were the ones that made me feel not safe, so I would run to these older men to make me feel safe. And obviously I got manipulated, taken advantage of, all the things. But my parents didn't see it that way. They saw it as like, oh, I'm just a hoe, like I'm just doing this, that, and the third, and I'm just rebellious and I don't want to listen to the rules. And they didn't see that I was following the same path as my mother, because my mom was literally 13, 14 when she had me, and my dad was like in his late 20s, so I was genuinely continuing a generational cycle. But for some reason they just could not see that, and it led to physical abuse and verbal abuse, and even when I wasn't doing that, it was still going on. So it was just like a huge toxic mess. That was the type of environment that I grew up in. And so by the time we had moved to Michigan, which, by the way, okay, I'm sorry, I have so many stories. I have like a whole story bank in my head of everything that has happened. So just to set the scene, when we had ended up moving from Texas to Michigan, right before we were about to leave, my mom had caught me talking to this older guy who I was in a 3-year relationship with, story time coming on that soon. And I had ended up running away because she had found some of the stuff that I was doing, and it led to a lot of like, again, physical and emotional abuse. And so I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out. So I left. She locked the door behind me, told me not to come back. So I was like, okay. And I went to go stay with this older man, and I was there for like a while, like a couple of hours, not like weeks or days or anything, but it was a couple of hours until I got paranoid that she would find him and he would get arrested or whatever. And it ended up with both of them going on a high-speed chase, my mom trying to catch him because he pulled into the driveway as soon as she pulled into the driveway, and then she saw him, saw me, and yeah. So that was where we kind of left off, and then we left to Michigan, and I didn't speak to him for a very long time. My mom didn't speak to me for a very long time, and flash forward to the incident that happened that basically led them to be like, I'm just abandon me. I was 15, and all of this, the whole entire scenario that happened that led to CPS being called yet again in Michigan a couple months after we were staying there, was all over a state ID. Yes, a state ID. I was trying to get a job at 15 years old because I wanted my own money, and so I was constantly like going to my dad and asking him like, hey, I need you to take me to the Secretary of State. I have to get my ID. I'm like trying to get my job. And he was like, okay, cool, like, yeah, I'll take you. And very last minute, like literally the day before, he tells me that he can't take me because he's not on my birth certificate. He's not on my birth certificate because of the huge age gap, like I said. And so I was like, he was like, you're gonna have to ask your mom. And I'm like, okay. So I go and I tell my mom, hey, I need you to take me to the Secretary of State. I'm telling her everything that she needed to take me, and she basically agreed that she was gonna take me. Flash forward, the day of, I'm like getting ready, and it's like 30 minutes before I have to be there, and I come downstairs and I'm like, hey, I'm ready. And she's like, I'm not taking you. And I'm like, what do you mean you're not taking me? And she's like, well, you and your dad are always ganging up on me, and you never tell me anything, and so I'm not taking you. She basically got mad because I told my dad before I told her. And the reason why I always went to my dad with things was because she acts like that. Like, she literally gets explosive, like she gets angry, always coming home in a bad mood, creating such a negative environment. Like, being there was literally like walking on eggshells waiting for a damn volcano to explode, because you never know what could set her off. Like, I could do something and then it could just piss her off, and then boom, the whole household is unhappy, because when she's unhappy, she fights with my dad. And when she fights with my dad runs to me telling me that he wants to unalive himself, and that, you know, telling me all these sad things, and that he's gonna have a heart attack because me and my mom are fighting so much. Like, he was very emotionally manipulative, and my mom was just straight up physically abusive and verbally abusive, which my dad did nothing. And so that's what ended up happening. Me and my mom got into it because I was arguing with her, and I was like, why aren't you gonna like, this is dumb. Like, I literally told you yesterday and asked you and told you everything that you needed to take me to the Secretary of State, and now you're saying you don't want to take me because I didn't tell you first. I was so frustrated, y'all. Like, I was 15 years old. I was trying to get my job. I was like, man, what the fuck? I was so upset. And so then that leads to her and my dad fighting, and I'm like, here we go again. And they end up fighting. It gets into this huge argument. She like storms out and she's like, fuck you, da da da, like, I'm gonna leave you, and things like that. And I'm like, bro, over this? I'm like, what the hell is even going on right now? And so my dad is like sitting on the couch, and he's like talking about how he wants to unalive himself, and like just saying so many like sad shit to me. And like, in my 15-year-old little brain, I'm taking everything he says at face value. So I'm thinking like he's really gonna do it, and like things like that. And so I'm like, I don't want to leave him alone. I'm trying to sit there with him and like talk to him. But he's like, no, like, just go to your older sister's house. And I'm like, no, Dad, I'm literally crying. I'm like, no, I don't want to leave you, like, because I was genuinely terrified that he was gonna do something to himself if I left. He's like, no, it's okay. Like, he had my younger siblings, and he just told me to like pack some of my things and just go stay with my older siblings for a while. So I'm like, okay, which those were his kids. Like, before he met my mom, he had like 5 other kids. So those are all my half siblings, which are like, they're like in their late 20s, early 30s. And my mom, the kids he had with my mom is me, my younger sister, and my younger brother. So I'm the oldest out of my mom's kids, him and my mom's kids. And so I pack my things and I go stay with my half siblings. And while we're there, I'm telling them like everything that happened, and they're pretty much already used to it because they know how my dad is. Like, he says a whole bunch of things and like tries to emotionally manipulate. So it was just a whole thing. And I remember texting my mom and I'm like, hey, like, why are you doing this? Like, dad said that he's gonna unalive himself, and like, can you please just go back into apologize and apologize to him? Like, I'm in the middle of it trying to fix everything, and she's just like, I don't give a fuck what he does, and da da da. And I'm just like, bro. And then she's going off on me and telling me things about my siblings. She's like, fuck all of y'all, and like, she's just saying the most like outlandish shit to both me and my siblings. And me and my sister are like sitting on the stairs, and we're like, what the fuck did we do? And both my I think my younger siblings had ended up coming over with me so my dad could like fix things with my mom. But yeah, so they were crying, I was upset, and it was just like this whole big thing. And I eventually was like, I'm not going back there, like, I'm just gonna stay here for a while until things cool down. So I ended up staying with my half siblings and their mom. And one day, oh, I had actually ended up getting a job anyways. Like, hello. I was working, like, my very first job was McDonald's, and for some reason, I think they used my school ID instead of a state ID, but I had ended up getting the job anyways, and like, I was able to work, so I was pretty much good either way. And so I'm starting this new job and I'm working, and I ask my older half brother, I'm like, hey, can you drop me off, or can you take me to go pick up some work shoes from my parents' house and then drop me off at work? And he's like, okay, yeah. So what ends up happening is he goes and he comes inside while I'm going in my parents' house to go grab my work shoes, and I'm getting like some mail, and then like something in me told me to just grab my important documents. So like, I'm grabbing my mail, I'm grabbing my birth certificate and my social security card, and I grab my work shoes. Like, I pretty much grab all the essential things that I would need. And we're getting ready to go, and then my little sister is like standing in the doorway. Like, okay, so like the doorway is like this, it's like a square. So my sister is like in the middle of the doorway, and so my mom just like comes out of her room with like a stank attitude, and she like basically pushes past my sister to get through the doorway, doesn't say excuse me or anything. And I'm like, you could have said excuse me. I was like, you could have said excuse me. And she's like, what did you say? And she's like on tip, like from the get-go. And I'm like, I was just saying that you could have said excuse me because you literally like pushed past her and didn't even say anything. And she's like, oh, so you want to fight me? I'm tired of you, little girl. Like, you know, she's like being explosive on me, and she's like, I'm sick and tired of you and blah blah blah, like, you want to fight me, like, let's go. And I'm like, no, I don't want to fight you, bro. Like, I don't want to fight you. And I'm just basically telling her like, no, just leave me alone. I just said that all you could have said was excuse me. And obviously that made her even more mad, and so she ends up like pushing me until like I fall over the bathtub, and like she's like pulling me around, and like she's to the point where like she's literally on the top of me, like beating the shit out of me. And she's like, you fucking hoe and this and that, and like she's saying like all types of like vulgar shit about me, and like she's literally like beating the shit out of me, and my siblings are crying. My dad is literally just sitting on the couch saying, stop, 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 like that's gonna do anything. And then my half brother is just standing there. So no one broke us apart. Everybody's just sitting there watching me get my ass beat. And I'm saying a whole bunch of stuff too. I'm like, I hate you, like, why are you doing all this? Like, I'm just saying anything I can to try to like get her off me, which probably wasn't the best idea, but hey, I was 15 at the time, and I was really upset that all of this happened because I tried to get my state ID, and she was mad that I didn't tell her about it first. And so she ends up like pushing me out of the doorway, and I almost damn near fall and crack my head open. Luckily I didn't, but yeah, she ends up pushing me out of the house, and then I end up not going to work that day. And so me and all my older siblings, like, I had glass in my hand from my phone because she shattered the phone and stuff, and I had like a couple of like scratches or whatever the fuck. And I remember saying like, oh no, like, I'm calling CPS on her, like, fuck this, like, I'm tired of her shit, like. So I called, and we went, me and my sister-in-law went to go file a police report at the police station. And I remember my parents had cameras, so I was trying to like log into their camera system to get the footage of her like literally beating the shit out of me for no reason. And we logged into their cameras, so they ended up like erasing the footage. And but like while we were in the cameras, like, me and all of my older siblings were like sitting there watching the cameras because I had like figured out what the password was. And you could see like the live footage of the cameras, and my mom is just like sitting there dogging the shit out of me. Like, she's like, fuck that bitch, I hate her, I wish we would have left her ass in Texas. And she's just saying like all these vulgar things about me. Like, I can't even repeat some of the shit that she said because it was like, first of all, it was hurtful. Second of all, it was just like stuff that you would expect someone to say to like someone you're beefing with off the side of the street or something. Like, you would not expect that she was talking about her daughter. And so she's saying all this vulgar stuff about me, and then my dad is sitting there basically like agreeing, and he's saying that one of my siblings like was his favorite. And yeah, basically he didn't say anything, and he just let my mom say all those like disgusting things about me. And CPS got involved. It was like this whole big thing. And I ended up staying with my half siblings. And yeah, that was just a very like traumatic experience for me. Like, that can give you some insight into like some of the things that went on in the household, because there's even worse stuff than that. It's not even, that's just like the icing on the cake. That was like the last time that I really spoke to them for real, was when I was 15. It was just crazy and chaotic. And yeah, I hadn't spoken to them. And my mom even eventually like posted on Facebook and was talking about, like, she made this public Facebook post a while after, like, this was like pretty like months or even like a year into like the whole CPS thing. And she was like, I hate you with every breath in my body. I knew from the day you were born you were gonna be a no good piece of shit. I'm gonna put you down like the dog that you are, and mommy's coming for you, little bitch. Like, I remember that word for word because my grandma had called me and told me, and she's like, did you see what your mom posted about you on Facebook? And I was like, no. And like, I went on there, and like, at first I was kind of like desensitized to it because she had said stuff like that to me before. But eventually, like, it really started to get to me, and it kind of like really fucked me up. And to this day I still remember like the post and everything. So I'm not gonna share everything that happened because we would be here for a very long while, but just know I made my own mistakes in that situation. My parents made their mistakes, and it was just a really messy, chaotic, toxic situation. I did a lot of things in survival mode that I'm not proud of. And if you go on my TikTok or anything, like, I'm very open and very honest about all of the shit that I've been through. So if you want like a deeper, longer story time about some of the stuff, let me know in the comments down below, or you can go check out my TikTok page, because I'm very open about a lot of the things on there, and I share a lot more lessons and mistakes that I made on that. So I would say first of all, the mistakes that I made, I would say to anyone who has a toxic family or who has been through toxic situations like that, and you know that your family just isn't the best, recognize that, first of all, it's not your fault. My family used to call me crazy. They called me psychotic, said I need to be locked up in mental institutions. Like, they painted me out to be such a bad person, and they made it seem like the reason everything was happening in my family was because of me. Like, they didn't already have all of their trauma before I came along. They just made it seem like I'm the reason that every single bad thing has ever happened to them. And I blamed myself for a very long time. Like, my parents even used to tell my siblings all of the stuff that was going on within the CPS cases. They used to tell them all these bad things about me. So now my siblings have it in their head that I'm just this evil, bad person that broke up the family and did all these things. And, you know, I'm the one that ruined everything, essentially. And I blamed myself for a very long time. I thought, well, maybe my parents are right. Maybe I'm just this evil, bad person that doesn't deserve to have their family or whatever. But I'm realizing now, once I got away from literally every single family member, like, once I was 17, I didn't talk to a single family member, and my life got so much better. It was hurtful, yes. I had to sit with a lot of pain. I felt alone. I felt isolated, and it was just a lot of painful emotions that I had to go through. But at the end of the day, life got so much better. And then I realized, like, if I was really this evil, bad person that they painted me out to be, then my life would have been way more fucked up than that. You know, like, if I'm this just evil person who just hates their parents, then and especially with the way that I was going and all the shit that I was doing, I would have ended up pregnant. I could have ended up getting addicted to things. Like, life could have just been so much more worse for me, but it wasn't. You know, like, I actually met people that helped me along my path. I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and do things like this. I want to come on here and share my story so that people can get inspiration, so that they can understand that they too are able to heal. They're able to break generational curses. That's what I realized, that I'm here to break generational curses. And if none of that stuff happened, then I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And I'm really grateful and I'm really proud of where I'm at today. And so I got to a point where I stopped blaming myself, and I stopped putting all their burdens on myself, because they're still in misery. My parents are still holding a grudge against me to this day. They're still telling my siblings shit about me. And guess what? They're on my social media pages, stalking me. But yet, they haven't reached out to me. They haven't inquired about how I'm doing or how life has been. But yet, they're constantly on my social media. They're constantly talking about me. And I know this because I've talked, like, over the time, and as I've forgiven people, like, I've talked to some of my siblings, and I've talked to my cousins, and I've talked to some other family members. So I know a little bit, but I'm just saying, y'all, like, if you have a toxic family, it's not your fault. Like, the things that you did in survival mode is not your fault. And you need to forgive yourself, because everybody makes mistakes. And regardless of what mistake you make, you're still worthy of love. You're still worthy of having a good life. You will always and forever be worthy of unconditional love. My family never showed me unconditional love. I had to be perfect. I couldn't make a mistake, or else I would be abandoned, or else I would be abused. And so I spent so much time trying to be this perfect person. I spent so much time blaming myself for not being more perfect. But then realizing that none of that shit was normal in the first place. None of us are meant to be perfect. If I didn't make mistakes, I would not learn. That's the duality in things. You will not know joy unless you know suffering. You can't know, like, it has to go hand in hand. Suffering is part of the human experience, and we need to make mistakes in order for our soul to grow. So the things that you did is not your fault, especially if you're not doing that anymore. I'm deciding that I'm going on my own self-love journey. I'm not talking to any men. I've been celibate for like almost 2 years now. I'm deciding to learn how to be okay with being by myself. I have good habits. I have a business. I have my own car, my apartment. I've done pretty fucking good for myself, and I'm about to be 20 in May. I've had a lot of successes in my life, and I will continue to have successes in my life. Because I decided to forgive myself, and I also decided to forgive my parents. I decided to forgive my family, because they don't know what they're doing. They're operating unconsciously. And that's another thing that I would say is, like, understand that everything that your parents do and say is not because of you. It's not because you're unlovable. It's not because of what you did. It's not because of the mistakes that you made. It was because they did not have the tools, the knowledge, or the resources to be able to love you properly. They don't know how to be parents, and they probably never will be able to. That's just part of their own programming, their own cycles, that is their responsibility to heal. And if they don't heal that and they end up having kids, all of that shit gets placed on them. And so they end up being the same person as their parents. And that's the path that I was going down until I was physically removed from every single family member. God literally placed me out of that household, away from my family, so I would be able to heal. So I would be able to understand myself, understand my family better. And I've already broken a lot of generational cycles. I'm not pregnant. I'm not talking to older men anymore. Learning how to love myself, learning how to be okay with being alone. I don't think that's something that my family has ever done. At least not that I know of. And so it may take a while to get to that point, but nothing that they say or do is because of you. And I need you to understand that. Another thing is also, I would try to get out of that environment as soon as you can. I did everything that I could to get out of that household, and that was for a reason. It was because I did not belong there, and I knew that I did not belong there. Something within me would not let me go back to my parents' house or even go back to my family. I knew that I had to get out of there even as a kid. That's why all those CPS cases were open, and I was constantly being placed in shelters and group homes and mental hospitals because I did anything to stay out of there. Now, I'm not telling you to go and do what I did. I'm not telling you that you have to go call CPS and you have to, be in group homes or in shelters, but at least be planning an escape route in your head, like when you're 18. Or if you're working, save up all your money. Or maybe see if you can stay with a friend or just something to get you out of the environment. And this is so important because you cannot heal in the same environment that traumatized you, period. You're going to be clouded by all of this negativity, and you will never, like, if I was still with my parents or with my family, I don't know where I would be. I would definitely not be where I'm at now. I would not have the same mentality that I do, and I would probably be stuck in the same cycles, doing the same thing over and over again. Because that's the type of environment that enabled that behavior. If you ever want to have a better life, and if you ever want to be a better person, and decide that you want to break all these generational curses, it's lonely, yes, isolating, yes, but at the end of the day, it was the best thing that I could have ever done for myself, was get out of that environment, no matter what it took. Like I said, My family has called me crazy, psychotic, all sorts of things. And I've had to navigate life alone. There are times where I wish I had a mom to call up and tell her about all the things that I've been going through, or I had a dad that was able to protect me or provide for me in the way that I wanted him to, and I didn't, and I cried about it all the fucking time. I still cry about my parents sometimes because it's hurtful. It's very hurtful. But what would have been more hurtful is staying in that environment and being constantly subjected to trauma, constantly subjected to abuse. I wouldn't, and I think one of the main things that made me feel guilty, especially as the older child, was leaving my siblings behind. That was one of the hardest things that I've had to do because me and my siblings have had a rocky relationship. Like, we were all in a toxic household, and I was not as nice to them as I wanted to be because I was going through my own shit, and that's one of my biggest regrets. You know, like, I wish I was there for my sister. I wish I was there for my brother. And I wish I could tell them, like, all of the things that have happened and let them hear my side of the story and actually develop a relationship with them. But in order for me to be a good example for them, I had to leave them behind. I had to get out of there so I can heal, so I can work on myself, so I can be a better person for them. So when the time comes, which it probably will, when they recognize the complete insanity and the toxicity that goes on in our household, I'll be there to help them. But I never would have been able to help them if I didn't get out of that same environment. And if you're thinking, oh, well, I don't know how to get out of this environment, and I don't know, I don't have a plan, I'm still a minor, like, there's nothing that I can do, I highly recommend you look into the law of attraction and manifestation. This is one of the things that honestly saved me. I started getting into this stuff when I was 15 years old. I remember I used to be in group homes and I used to be in shelters, and I would write down, like, you know, y'all know the 369 method? I used to be doing that. I used to write down, I'm out of my household and I'm living here. I'm out of my house, like 50 million times to get out of my mom's house. And I even dove into like some witchcraft. You don't have to do witchcraft, but I'm just saying law of attraction and manifestation literally saves your life because it teaches you how your thoughts create your reality and your beliefs create your reality. And when you can, in your mind, imagine yourself living somewhere else, imagine yourself living a good life, being the person that you want to be, the universe or God will literally move situations and circumstances, bring people into your life to make that happen. So once you understand how your mind works and once you understand the laws of the universe, you're able to bring things into your reality that seem impossible. So I highly recommend that you read a couple books on it. You can go check out my TikTok videos. That's where I have all the information on those things. Like, all of my information is going to be linked down below if you're interested in law of attraction, manifestation. This is everything that I teach. I teach people how to become a better version of themselves. I teach people how to heal from their trauma, break generational curses. I share my story. I give you advice, knowledge, and wisdom along your journey so that you feel less alone. So if any of this resonates with you, make sure to click the link down in the description so that you can stay updated on all of my content and you can get all of the resources, because I promise I'm here for you. And even if you want to comment down below, share some of your experiences, like, please let me know. And yeah, where I'm at now is so much better than where I was, and I wouldn't trade it. Like, if I had to choose to go back, I probably wouldn't. Like, things had to play out the way that they did so I could get to this point. And I'm telling you guys, it gets so much better. It gets so much better. Life gets so much better. This is only a moment in time. This is only a fragment of your story, especially if you're younger, like I was, like 15 to 17. This is only a fragment of your story. I remember visualizing where I'm at today. I remember hoping and praying like I could get my own car, I could have my own apartment, I would finally be free, I wouldn't have no one telling me what to do, I wouldn't have no one like being in my ear and telling me all these bad things about myself. I wouldn't constantly have to be in traumatic situations, and now I'm not. I'm not. I am living a past version of myself's dream. And I saw this one post that said, like, my life now is a love letter to my inner child. And that's literally what my life is now. I'm doing habits, and I'm like doing so many things within my business, so many things with my content and my life, and just working on myself so that I can be the person that my inner child needed, so that I can be there for my siblings, and so that I can be there for other people the way I wanted someone to be there for me. Okay, like, keep this, like, everything you see here, like, this is a dream come true. This is literally a dream come true, and it only gets better from here. What goes down must come up. Okay, like, when you're at your, you can't be at your lowest forever. It's not gonna be like this forever. And so if you're in a situation and you felt any way that I felt, I'm telling you, it does get better. Life does get better. Things do get better. And you will be at a place where you're going to look back and you're going to realize that all of those things needed to happen for you to become the person who you are today. You're going to become a lot stronger. You're going to become more resilient. You're going to become more brave. And you're actually going to be able to meet people who are able to unconditionally love you in the way that you deserve. Because family is not always blood. Family is not always blood. You will meet your family. You will find your people. Okay? And I can be one of those people. You can join the divine tribe. Because I'm telling y'all, like, there's so much more to life. There's so much more. And things, like I said, do get better. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was kind of a long one, but feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to keep future videos like this going. And if you have an experience that you would like to share, or maybe you have your own advice or your own things that you would like to share, please leave them down in the comments below, and I will see you guys next week.